Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, the AI market, and how to make or lose some money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today, we have Coinbase launching their wrapped Bitcoin version, cbBTC, on both Ethereum and Base. We have Azuki launching the Anime 2.0 platform on Anime Chain and that amazing domain anime.com that they got as well. We do have them from Azuki with us as a special guest. He will be staying with us for the entire show to discuss that piece of news. And lastly, Rug Radio announcing that Donald Trump interview at Mar-a-Lago to talk about the new Trump DeFi protocol, World Liberty Financial, that will happen next Monday. We also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs, plus some discussion of where AI is heading after OpenAI, respectively ChatGPT, has previewed their most recent model, which is pretty insane in my opinion. I'm quite excited to get into that and highlight some of the use cases. Today, I have Sammy in the co-host seat with me. As I said before, we have them from Azuki as a special guest today. Them is the cult builder at Azuki, love that bio, and a contributor to Animecoin. Can't wait to get into the discussion part with him. Before we get started with everything, nothing that we say here is financial advice. It's no kind of advice whatsoever. It's always do your own research, be diligent about what you do in Web3 and maybe also generally in life. With that out of the way, then we spoke briefly before the show. My first question to you was, did you get any sleep at all? How are you feeling after the big announcement yesterday or tonight or last night from a European perspective?
Yeah, what is time? I took a 3-hour nap between last night and today. It's so exciting to be here on the show, and this is the first show we're doing, so legendary. You get the exclusive. But man, anime.com has been so well received by the Azuki community and I think by the wider space. And so I just love seeing the stickers. People sign up for that wait list. And yeah, it's been a long time coming that we can connect all the dots and show the full flywheel. So we can sleep later. I just want to talk about anime.com. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Although, are you going to be at Token in Singapore?
Man, I hate to break it here. I've been really trying. So we're having an event there. We have over 2,000 people signed up for the event. Been really struggling to get everybody in there because the venue only fits 300 people. And I'm trying to get a last minute flight or something. I have a personal thing very close. And there's a chance I don't get to be in Singapore. And I'm going to be like, oh man, come on, such a dope event. And I don't get to be there. But I'm going to try to make it. Like, there's still a shot. So I never say never.
Gotcha. Curious to see if that works out. If it works out, then you will probably not have the time to catch up on sleep over the next week.
Well, I think the time difference is almost like 12 hours. So then I think I have already changed my time zone. So I'll be great.
Yeah, that's true. That's the opposite of it. Sammy, how are you feeling? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm also gutted to be missing Singapore. Unfortunately, I'll be going off to the Amalfi Coast in Italy next week. So I'll be gutted, but I'll be on the beach sunning myself.
Oh, unfortunately, I'll be in the Amalfi Coast, man. I'm crying tears for you. Wow.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dan.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be at the Amalfi Coast. That is a way to announce your holiday. Love it. Let's get started. We have quite a few things to get into. Let's start, as usual, with the price action. I'm sharing that on screen for everyone watching us on YouTube or on X on video. It's a bit of a green day. Bitcoin is up 0.5% at 58.3K. ETH is up actually a bit more. It's up 1% at $2,370. Solana is down a bit, down 0.5% at $134. In terms of the main headlines, we have from the snapshot, which is also pinned on top, Coinbase launching the wrapped Bitcoin version cbBTC on both Ethereum and Base. Coinbase provided a bit more context on that. cbBTC is on chain. It's an ERC20 token that's backed by BTC, which is held by Coinbase. It means that millions of BTC holders can now securely access DeFi apps on Base and on Ethereum ecosystems, with actually quite a lot, I shall say, DeFi protocols that are already supporting that straight out of the gate. Very curious to get into that discussion and see what it actually means and how we can put it to use, and what it also means for Ramp BTC, for WBTC. Then we have Rug Radio announcing that Donald Trump interview at Mar-a-Lago to talk about the Trump DeFi protocol, World Liberty Financial. Farouk was posting on that saying it's going to happen live. There's going to be special guests when, again, that's next Monday, September 16th at 8 p.m. EST, live on X Spaces and broadcasted on video. Had some implications for the Thread Guy bet, which we talked about whether he gets to interview Trump or not. We'll get into that a bit later. And then Azuki launching Anime 2.0 platform on Anime Chain. The post from Animecoin saying the future of anime will live on anime.com, meant to join the waitlist and receive a set of limited edition collectibles. We are excited to support the flagship consumer platform on Anime Chain, now live on the private testnet. Can't wait to get into all the details there. In terms of some notable sales, we had a CryptoPunk with a headband selling for 32 ETH, Bored Ape with a golden grill selling for 16.5 ETH, and then we have this beautiful Azuki Red Panda that currently I'm sharing on screen, selling for 8.5 ETH. Let's move over to our NFT partner Mintify to get a broader look on what's happening in the JPEG market. Bored Apes are down a touch, 12.1 ETH floor, down 2%. Pudgies are basically unchanged from yesterday, still sitting at a 10.75 ETH floor. Azukis are not a stable coin today. They are up massively. They are up 13%, have smashed through at 5 ETH floor, and are sitting at a 5.36 ETH floor currently. Same goes for Elementals. Elementals are up 14% at a 0.44 ETH floor. Another collection that also saw a massive run on that Rug Radio Trump interview news is Rug Radio membership. It's only 20 ETH in volume. That's the caveat, but it is up 440% and is back to a 0.01 ETH floor. And again, it's only 20 ETH in volume, but given how low the price is, that's a shit ton of volume that went into this collection over the last 24 hours. Sammy, curious to hear from your side, what's catching your attention when it comes to the NFT market?
Yeah, so just on some of those news points, I think that's driven a bit of activity on the NFT side, and probably in places. I mean, we touched on the prediction market stuff with the Thread Guy bet, but if you look over on Blast with Fantasy Top, you've seen Farouk, the floor price on his cards have done a 3x on that announcement. And I've just put in a link to, I think it's your Fantasy Top thing. So if you wanted to share that on screen, you'd be able to see the price of that kind of explode. But that's the same with like Mandos and anyone else that could be potentially affiliated with that. And obviously, if you've got the competitions that play from Monday to Thursday each week, then that might be captured within that. So you'd expect there to be a lot more activity and volume. So people are kind of pricing that in now for the performance of those heroes to effectively get more Blast Gold. So that's just quite an interesting observation. And you can also see that Mintify have that within their like a module on their platform. So you can look at the prices of cards and stuff on there and use those analytics. And then the second point that I wanted to make, just on the base stuff. So on-chain Gaias. So if you've got all this Bitcoin liquidity coming to essentially DeFi on Base, on-chain Gaias have done a run up of 20%, which is I guess the primary NFT collection on Base. And I think Sinners, who is associated with on-chain Gaias, made this post saying time to pay attention. So I think something's in the pipeline.
Love it. Awesome update from your side. Dem, how do you feel about the price action in the Azuki collections and how well the announcement has been received by the market?
I feel overall it's been such a great week for NFTs in Web3. I mean, just the idea that Rug Radio is going to be interviewing, the American Orange Man, and that's not me, the other American Orange Bean. That in itself is huge. But you got Claynosaurus with that deal with Gameloft. You got Doodles with the TIFF premiere. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm just feeling like this energy, this buzz, and I feel like it's a different game, it's a different day. And obviously, you know, the Azuki community has been long suffering through ups and downs, and so the fact that there's interest and attention on the collection right now, the fact that we've landed a brand, a domain, and an announcement that people like, and the market is reflecting that by buying, like that's what you love to see. Like, you know, we're here to have our community win. So you can't get too happy when it goes up. You can't think you're too smart when it goes down. You can't think you're too dumb when it goes down. You know, you have to kind of keep balance and focus. But for a lot of people that have been holding Azuki for a while, to see the price go up, number go up is always good. So that's all I can say.
Yeah, and as you said, I think we've seen quite a few interesting announcements. We'll cover the Gameloft thing with Claynosaurus a bit later in the Web3 Roundup as well. We've seen quite some powerful announcements in the NFT segment coming almost in synchronicity, that, at least for me, are currently changing the sentiment and are making me experience FOMO again in a way that I didn't experience in the last couple of years. I only have like one Claynosaur, and when I saw the Gameloft announcement, I was like, I need more of them. So it's nice to, you know, to feel that bit of FOMO again. And also, if I had take a look at the YouTube comments, in terms of the price action, Kashmir was saying we need to celebrate plus 1%. That's for ETH going on a bender this weekend. Definitely in a good mood with all the news that came out of the market this week. Before we get into the first piece of news, however, I did want to bring up our discussion point of the day, and I thought it's relevant to take a look at OpenAI's newest O1 model. And actually, let's start the other way around. OpenAI posted a series of videos saying what the model can, demonstrating what the model can do, and basically the model can code, for example, an entire video game from a prompt. The model can think before it answers, is better at math and programming challenges. The longer it thinks, the better it does on reasoning tasks. I've seen some very interesting prompts that kind of show, like, basically ChatGPT is not telling you how long it took to think. It says, you know, it thought for 9 or 16 seconds, and you can actually break that down and break down the individual steps of how it has been thinking. And someone said, basically in a prompt, waste a ton of tokens to think about essentially nothing and reply in the shortest way possible. And if you break down that 16-second thought process, you could see ChatGPT arguing with itself if that prompt is in line with OpenAI's policies. And it went pretty deep in, you know, thinking about the implications of the policies, and then arrived to a conclusion. Yes, it can answer the that prompt, and the best answer is either, because it's said to be a short answer, to answer with yes or okay. So while that is like a pretty trivial example, it's interesting to, you know, get a feeling of how an AI is quote unquote thinking. In terms of some of the more impressive demos, there is, I'm just going to play for the people watching on video parts of this video from the demo, what the model can do. So basically, this is a prompt that says, use Pygame to make a game called Scroll Finder. You're a koala icon. Let's pause here real quick. That can move quickly using the arrow keys, etc., etc., etc. And basically give the code in a single file, and then it goes through the prompt and how it creates it. And at the end, you can actually preview this Scroll Finder game and how it works. It's a pretty simple game where you have to dodge with your koala some strawberries to catch the squirrel before one of the strawberries is catching you. But I feel like that this is insanely, insanely good. That post goes on. It's worth checking it out with so many more examples of what it can do. And one other example, I know I've been going on for a while on this, but I do think it's really relevant, was posted by Hasib, that the new model was confronted with a cybersecurity challenge that's called the Capture the Flag challenge. But basically, it's a bit technical. I'm going to break it down in a second. The Docker containing the test was misconfigured, causing the Capture the Flag challenge to crash. So it means basically the AI couldn't access the challenge that it had to solve. And instead of giving up and saying that I can't do the test, it managed to, quote unquote, hack its way into the container by itself, think around basically, and solve the problem really, really quick. So I feel like it's an extremely powerful model that has stepped up in terms of its programming capabilities, but also in terms of having longer thought processes. And first, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that, Sammy. Have you seen it? Have you seen some of the tweets? What is your first reaction to that?
I see a lot of the tweets, but I think a lot of the tweets are people that know how to prompt and what prompts to include, because what their outputs they get seem to be pretty good. So I think for me, I'm a pretty novice prompter. So when I'm playing around with it, it takes me a while to get the outputs that I want, and I find that the visual outputs aren't amazing. Like it takes me, and maybe that's the user error, me being not specific enough about what I want. But say I put in a picture and just say, can you edit it and remove X, Y, Z? Be very specific on it. It then produces a completely different picture. And then does that, which is cool, but it's not really what I asked in the first place. So I think there's some parts just on a day-to-day basis that I want to use it for that I think it's lagging behind on, but it's kind of leapfrogged in other areas that it's doing some pretty insane stuff. So I think there's that middle ground where like I actually just want to use it for day-to-day basis to make my like the operations a lot more efficient, which it can be, but maybe I just don't know what those prompts are that I need to include. So maybe it's a case of me collecting a repository of prompts, and this will probably become a skill, like having someone who is a prompt expert to then do that. And maybe that's something that I kind of need to expand on. But keen to hear your thoughts. Like, have you used it in your day-to-day stuff, just from content or anything in Web3?
I use it for a lot of things that are just making my life easier. Some of them being a bit more complex, some of them being very, very trivial. The trivial things around the modern market is when it comes to the timestamps that need different formatting for Spotify, for Apple Music, is to just use ChatGPT to change the formatting. The more complex things are, the way I really like to use it, and I also see Funky with his hand up, going to go to him in a second. The way I like to use it is when I do some research on a new topic, and I'm like, bring the most important studies up on that, summarize their key points, what's in favor of that question, what speaks against it. I don't know. Is it good to drink coffee before you go to bed? To like bring a very, very simple example where there's actually studies that say a bit of espresso before bedtime can have a helpful effect, which sounds a bit counterintuitive. And then I also asked ChatGPT to link those studies that it found for me and go into that. So for like the more academic research or any kind of research, I find it super helpful. On the coding side of things, I don't go into it that much. I feel like I should. I feel like because I have no idea about coding, it's the perfect tool to use. Kind of reminds me of, when we were back in consulting, auditing, etc. Obviously, Excel was like one of the main tools you use. And if you learn and teach yourself how to build your own macros and work with some of the extensions that you can use on Excel, it's like accelerating all of your workflow. And I feel like this is the capability that I'm not yet tapping into.
So I think that to me, like if I'd known about this or had access to this when I was working at UI, that this would have been like a game changer. I do think there is like confidentiality issues and stuff that you're kind of restricted as to what you use it for. But just on your point around like the operational stuff, like I find Grok pretty good because a lot of information that we gather is kind of Twitter native. And Grok as a database has Twitter as like its main repository of information. So I find that more useful for our specific niche of industry. Whereas I think just the general research outside of that, like ChatGPT is very good for. So I think it also just depends on what you're going to use it for.
Yeah, absolutely. The ability that Grok can dive into all of the posts on X is pretty helpful for us. Kashmir also in the YouTube comment saying, I chug iced coffee before bed every night. I get irritated. Otherwise, caffeine helps me sleep. Funky, you've been waiting with your hand up for a while. Welcome to the stage, my friend. What's on your mind when it comes to the AI topic we've just been discussing?
Jim, fam. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on something that Sammy said in particular. ChatGPT can't see images the way that we see them as humans, right? Like, so I felt that frustration when first trying to prompt and generate things, just as Sammy said, like you like a certain thing, but then you say, hey, can you please edit this or that? And then it just generates a whole new image. And it's like, wait a minute, this is not what I wanted. But I will say, to the points that you guys are referencing, there is an art to prompting. And I will say that my wife, she's getting really, really good at this. Like just this morning, she was generating images because I'm about to launch my own LLC here in Florida. And she was generating images to create sort of our brand logos. And it really is the specificity with which you actually prompt the thing, and you have to keep doing it. And it will generate similar images, but it can't really edit because it doesn't. ChatGPT will tell you, like, I can't see an image, even the thing that it generated, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. If the tool that can do that is Midjourney, and also not in the way that you tell it remove the glass in the background that I don't like, but you can like highlight a specific segment of the image that it generated and just have it regenerate a couple of times. It would often fix the problem that you had with it. But as you perfectly said, it doesn't work in the way just yet that it can remove things.
Because I understand what you're saying, Funky. And actually, what I did was I got it to describe the image that it had just produced, and then I used that text to put that back in, and that kind of helped it to a certain degree. But I agree with you; it still wasn't exact. It just kind of referenced that, and I think the more specific you were, the closer the image output it was based on like its previous production of an image. I think that's it's interesting to see how AI looks at stuff versus us.
Google phones can do that pretty well. I think even most Android phones have the feature now where you just can circle in an object and remove that. And obviously a lot of editing apps that are specialized on that. But since we've gone more into the visual direction, I would love to bring them into the conversation as well. Them, you guys have been killing it on the YouTube side with the shorts content, reaching 100,000 to millions of views. Is AI something that you're thinking about from an anime perspective? Is it something that worries you in the future? Is it something that you are already in whatever way, shape, or form implementing in your workflows? How do you feel about that?
I think we're in a very unique place as an IP, Azuki, to leverage all the good bits that AI can bring to artists as a tool for artists and as a tool for studios, and especially for fans and indie creators. But at the same time, we have to be aware of the traditions and the resistance that the traditional anime space is going to have. So we are right in the moment where we can choose to incorporate AI into our IP, and into the way that like we treat our IP, in a way that is like additive to the journey and to the experience of being a fan, which I think a lot of traditional IPs can't do. But at the same time, we want to contribute to the anime scene, to the tradition, and so we have a bunch of artists in our own team, and they look at AI both as a potential tool for fast prototyping and also as a huge threat to like originality and a potential challenge to copyright infringement. And so I think we're developing a pretty good picture of like what an AI of the future can be. You can't just bury your head in the sand and pretend like AI content is not going to be massive, because it is getting there, and especially in the anime category, the models seem to be especially good at sort of reproducing AI type content. So I think it's a unique opportunity, and we get to talk to a lot of traditional players and traditional artists and get to help them contextualize that the same way that people take their art and they make versions of it because they're very good at drawing or they're very good at cosplaying. There will be a future, and there's already a present in which people will take their art and their IP and they will alter it through means of AI tools. And if they're smart and they're open as creators, but they have the right ways to like protect their original content and protect their original creations, they also can use this as a way to have more people look at their IP. So there's a lot of like education that needs to happen, but there's a lot of experimentation. I mean, we have the Bobu AI chatbot. It's been doing crazy stuff on YouTube. So we definitely embrace AI models as a way to let more people participate, because like, you know, I can't draw, but I love these characters, so I want to do more with them. It's an exciting technology, and like with everything, you know, there's going to be gatekeepers, there's going to be people that don't want to implement it, there's going to be people that abuse it, that like, you know, really infringe on other people's copyright, and there's a really sweet middle ground where more people get to participate on stuff that they love, and that's what we're shooting for in terms of how we relate to AI.
Love it. I do have a follow-up question on that, because you said something that stood out to me. You said that the image generating tools, the AIs, are pretty good with anime content. And for example, Midjourney has its own Niji mode, which is specialized on creating anime style content. You can even go as far as prompting it to create something in the style of a specific artist, to a character in the style of Akira Toriyama, or whatever is on your mind when it comes to that. And you're building this incredibly strong IP with Azuki. You said yourself you don't draw, you want to do more with your characters. But how do you feel about the, you know, say the community taking their own PFPs, or taking the IP that you're building, using tools like Midjourney and trying to replicate more scenes with the characters, or with characters in the whole Azuki IP and world? Where do you see it as a like purely net positive thing because everyone can create user generated content? Or do you also see the challenging side of it from the standpoint, what is quote unquote official Azuki content that is perfectly fitting the IPs, perfectly fitting the style and the artistic expression, and what is AI user generated content? How do you feel about the dichotomy?
I mean, I'm definitely on the side of AI being a net positive tool for any space. I was at Google 6 years ago. I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with people at Google Brain. So I'm probably very biased on the pro AI side. But I always go back to the story of like the chess tournament, where it was like teams of humans versus teams of computers versus teams of computers working together with humans. Teams working together with humans crushed every other, you know, competitor in the space, right? So if you can create a value capture system, if you can create a network IP, if you can create a strong enough core IP that it does not get significantly diluted from like a perspective of value, or from a perspective of like, you know, brand equity or whatever, and if you do have a way to identify what is the original content, like what is the canon content and what is the derivative content, God, there is just so much more that IP that is leveraging AI can do versus the you know, sort of top down or bottom up IP. It's a hellhole if there's no good system for dictating what is the canon IP. It becomes a hellhole, because then everybody's creating everything and everything is canon, and there's no real central story. So I think that's why I'm saying that we're also in a unique place, because in 5 years from now, because AI will be so much the norm, the minute an artist makes one little thing, it will instantly be like sort of copy pasted to infinity beyond recognition by AI. And that might be a moment in the future where it's very difficult to create a new original AI, and you'll have to be very deliberate about that strategy. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's got to be used well, because what you say, like if you just don't have a way to control what is canon and what is the central IP, then all these other AI replicas would A, infringe on your copyright and like the rights of the artist that created the thing, but also B, feel really bland. Like it will just get all diluted. So it's a really cool challenge to be able to tackle.
And I think that ties into like the value of blockchain as well, because obviously tracing, to say for instance an artist creates something,
Yes.
you know, the source that piece of work or content that's been created goes directly back to that artist. So I think that's something that's extremely powerful as well in an era where like all this information is going to be proliferated around the internet. I completely agree with you that there's some value which kind of comes back to, okay, well, where's that actual human touch? And maybe people will attach a greater value to that than just AI generated stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's again, it's a long shot to ask every single artist and every single studio and app owner to adopt both blockchain and AI. But to me, that's where the secret sauce is, right? Like if you can create tiers of how canon or how legit a piece of content is, like if it's the first derivative, a second derivative, or it's just been created by some random. Like if you can build it into the way that you have your fans and your community enjoy your content, you can build AI into it, you can live with it, and you can rein in the benefits of it. Because if it runs wild, it's bad, or if you don't use it at all, it's impossible to not use it at all. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So I think we're uniquely positioned to show a way of doing AI that is networked amongst the community, where like there's ownership of different bits of the IP, which then makes something like AI derivatives of central piece, a much more manageable thing, and something that is positive to the IP instead of being negative.
I like that perspective a lot. Like, even if you think about content creation these days, the absence of AI, you have people who are running their own Patreons, where for the YouTube subscribers who wanna pay and subscribe to Patreon, they offer, I don't know, a monthly call, more personal access to them. So it's just another tier when it comes to content creation. When you can't afford the original artist, maybe you can afford a licensed product by a licensed AI that has generated derivative art based on that. But look, I think we could continue the discussion on AI for the rest of the show, and as much as we'd love to do that, we have some news to get into. So let's start with the first piece of news. Let's start with, where is it here? Coinbase announcing cbBTC is on chain. As I said, it's an ERC20 token backed 1-to-1 by Bitcoin, and they made the announcement also saying where it is available on. I'm not going to read all of the protocols. I'm sharing that on screen, but some of them are Aave, Compound Finance, Curve Finance, Morpholabs, and Mellow Protocol. Boyd Boomer actually had a very good tweet clarifying a bit more in the announcement, also sharing his perspective on that. I'm going to go through some of his thoughts that he posted. So Boyd Boomer said Coinbase wants to bring 1 billion people on chain. cbBTC is just one way to do it. Here's why this launch matters. Boyd Boomer sees it as a bridge between Bitcoin and DeFi. Obviously, BTC holders can now participate in DeFi applications on Base and ETH, as we said, from yield farming to lending and so on. It's secure and scalable liquidity. So Coinbase has built a reputation for trust and security. Crypto is volatile. Wrapping BTC with cbBTC, backing it 1-to-1. It's just a very, very scalable way to do that. Obviously, you have the custodial risk, but I think Boyd Boomer's point is to say that Coinbase has this very good reputation in this space, hence they can pull that off. Also expanding Bitcoin's use cases, again, by mostly tapping into the world of DeFi. And they conclude by saying that this is just another significant milestone in onboarding new users to DeFi, and it's one of the few arms that Coinbase is focusing on right now. Obviously, Base being the other one, the wallet product. Now cbBTC, seems that they are very, very good at identifying what is relevant when it comes to adoption, when it comes to growth, and focusing on these things and implementing them. Sammy, I want to go to you. Have you played around with cbBTC already? Have you looked at some of the protocols? Do you have any plans to use the token? What are your thoughts? And
I haven't specifically played around with cbBTC. I think that it's a great way of unlocking liquidity and bringing it to the Base ecosystem. I think from a DeFi standpoint, that I use the example like NFT lending as an example on ETH. Like you can effectively bring the Bitcoin liquidity to lending on Base. So you could take an on-chain Gaia. If that accrues a significant amount of value, all of a sudden you could have loans taken out in Bitcoin, but wrapped on Base through for that NFT specifically. And then one step further, once you have a lot of this RWA stuff coming on chain, you can have a lot of traditional lending, so traditional assets put on the Base ecosystem, but loans taken out in wrapped Bitcoin, and then other activity then taking place on chain. So I think it unlocks a huge amount of opportunity of what you can do with it. I haven't really explored the DeFi landscape on Base specifically. I mean, historically it's been either Arbitrum or ETH mainnet. So I think for me, that is something that really interests me, and just to see what innovation comes out of that, and then also what applications are built on top. Yeah, so I think that's probably predominantly the main focus, or the bullish news that I think is part of it. But yeah, Board Boomer's post is really good, covers a lot of that.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's just super convenient. I'm gonna make this confession, mostly to Funky before I throw it to him, that it was only this year that for the first time I bought BTC on a self-custodial BTC wallet and stored it there. Because before that, I just used to buy wrapped BTC and hold it in my ETH wallet, because that's what I'm using everywhere on my ETH wallets. That's what I'm using every day, and I just didn't want to go out of my way and set up a new wallet infrastructure for that. So I was super happy to accumulate BTC in its wrapped form on ETH, and continue to do that with cbBTC now.
And I think that just on that point, I think the security around, I mean, if you're custodying Bitcoin for the likes of BlackRock and all these massive asset managers, you're going to have sort of SOX controls and all these kind of stuff that are really compliant. So I suspect these controls that Coinbase have are of a really high standard, which gives you an abundance of assurance over that you're going to be able to actually withdraw your Bitcoin if you need to. But also, damn it, I just completely forgot what I was going to say. I'll chuck it to Funky.
Yeah, Funky, go for it. You're not only our US correspondent, but also our Bitcoin maxi in-house.
And Coinbase bull, right? Like I'm Omega
Of course.
long on coin, so there's that as well. But congrats on actually getting some real sats that are not wrapped and putting them in cold storage. You should get like a Keystone or something like that, whatever that. And you did say it was self-custodial, but yeah, treat it like a black hole that you just send sats to and let them do their thing over time. But I was just on the Coinbase app, because as this part became part of the discussion, I was excited because I thought, well, you know what I would like to do is get out of my wrapped Bitcoin and swap it for the cbBTC. It's not on the Coinbase app yet, so like you can't just buy it the way that you can buy a cbETH, which already exists. So I'd be keen to actually accumulate some of that to use it in DeFi protocols, as you said that you're doing. Like I use Bob, for instance, built on Bob, that hybrid L2 that uses the OP stack, and because the Coinbase Ventures actually invested in them, so I'm sure cbBTC will be there available very soon, and then I can just swap out of it. But I'm really excited because, to your point, as an American, as someone who really just tries to use Coinbase and support the company for the stance that they've taken against Gensler and the other regulators, the whole stand with crypto movement and everything else, I will pretty much be a Coinbase maxi for the rest of my life, probably as a US citizen. I buy all my crypto through there. Usually it's just stables, and then I use it as an off ramp. But in the case of when I buy Bitcoin every month, I just do it there. And then after I build up to a certain amount, I just send it off into the Keystone and goodbye into the black hole. And we just hodl, baby.
Love it. Love it. That has been my process now too. I mean, ever since I installed the BTC app on the ledger and I have accumulated enough, I'm just gonna make the move and send it over. Oxy, I saw you requesting to come up to stage. I think it didn't work before. I think it worked now. Did you want to come in on that?
No, I thought it was funny that you said the most anti Funky thing right before Funky came up with the wrap BTC. But no, I'm kind of in the same camp where I've started really accumulating quote unquote real Bitcoin now, and I love this new feature as well from Coinbase. I think the onboarding potential is really high. So yeah, nothing too much to additionally add.
I love it. Kashmir in the YouTube comments also saying, I'm hearing Coinbase can blacklist and freeze cbBTC. Sammy, do you have any more info on that, or any thoughts on that?
Not specifically, but I guess it makes sense, because if you're wrapping the Bitcoin, ultimately you're going to be custodying it. But they do have to be compliant with local legislation, and being sort of US based, that does kind of make sense that they're able to do that. It's probably a specific requirement, but I think, I don't know, like if you look at the number of wallet downloads, I think that Coinbase dropped to about 200, ranked 200 and something in the App Store, which to me suggests there's a bit of a shift in the types of players that are coming to Coinbase. Like you've got obviously these massive asset managers that are using Coinbase as custodians rather than retail traders. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's like an inflection point where there's like an app that's built on Coinbase that has that product market fit for retail. Because at the moment, it does feel like you're bringing this liquidity from Bitcoin to Coinbase. The main users of that are institutions. So I do feel like it's kind of pushing more down that institution route as opposed to retail. And I do wonder whether there'll be like a moment in time in the future where retail comes back because maybe Bitcoin reaches new all-time highs or breaks through 6 figures. And then all of a sudden there's like that moment where it's just a flurry of activity and things are being created. Developers kind of, we saw recently that was 8,000 full-time developers are in Web3, which is like a fraction of what the traditional market developers are. So if you have all of that mass influx into blockchain-based applications, then it could be an explosive future. But I don't think we're quite there yet from the retail standpoint. I think it's been very focused on institutional stuff. So
yeah, like the train of thought a lot. Funky, give us a concluding take on that, and then we'll get into the Web3 roundup and straight into the Animecoin news.
Thanks, Legendary. I just wanted to touch on that FUD point. I mean, listen, don't be a terrorist. Don't be like a cartel member. I mean, they're going to freeze your assets. I really don't see Coinbase doing that ever, unless you did something that was highly illegal. And I get the maxi point. If you want, if you're going to live in that world still down the cypherpunk hole, then just use the regular Bitcoin, right? Like, but for average people who are investors like any of us who are listening to the show, that are good people who just want to participate in this space, understanding this technology is going to change the world in the coming decades. I mean, it's just a matter of don't be an asshole, pardon my French, right? I mean, and same thing for Circle, right? Same thing for USDC. If you're not doing anything to break the law, you don't have to worry about whether or not your assets are going to be frozen.
I'm
Love
trying
it.
so hard not to be a terrorist. I'm really doing my best. Great point.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Let's keep it moving. Let's get into the Web3 roundup to cover the other pieces of news from around the space. We have 2.6 trillion worth of value settled in stablecoins in the first half of 2024, according to a Visa survey. Next, CowSwap overtakes the 30-day volume of Ethereum, DEX, Uniswap, and 1inch. That's $3 billion versus $2.1 and $2.6 billion, respectively. Prediction market on blast, announcing a partnership with Fantasy Top to facilitate betting on fantasy players. That's on predict.fun. Like that idea quite a lot. Another huge X copy sale, Mortal, number 5 out of 10, selling for 220 ETH. In terms of the other pieces of news, massive collector Cosimo de Medici teams up with people to deliver 100K signatures to the SEC. As we said before, Klanosaurus partnering with mobile gaming giant Gameloft. Just for a bit of context of that, Gameloft has a portfolio of over 200 games, billions of games downloaded daily, and they did massive amount of revenue last year, $311 million. And as the last piece of news, Sugartown announcing the Roll Nuts Poker Club. With the Web3 roundup out of the way, let's get into the Animecoin news. Dem, you had the massive announcement. I'm going to share that on screen as well. Coming out yesterday, saying the future of anime will live on anime.com, meant to join the waitlist, receive a set of limited edition collectibles, and then also a live look at the website. Give us the breakdown on what has been happening, what has been in the works leading up to this announcement. Very, very curious to hear from your perspective as a contributor to Animecoin.
Absolutely. Well, since the inception of Azuki, Zagabond's had this idea of an open anime universe. And we've gone through a lot of different iterations of it. But I think deep down, when we look at the Azuki community and how they experience the Azuki brand and the deep passion that they have for it, when we look at our skill set in terms of like making technology, making products, designing user-facing products, and when we look at the opportunities of new sort of L2, L3 chain technology, it really kind of came together that this idea of Anime 2.0 was a very compelling concept to work towards. And it's the idea that there's a lot of different parts of the anime experience that are deeply broken, fractured, right? And so there's like a discovery piece, there's a consumption piece, there is a sort of fandom in relation to the IPPs, and looking at all those things, as an innovator and a disruptor, you always think, hey, I can do better. I can build something better. And for some time now, it has been difficult to fully explain to people the entire flywheel, right? Because if we said, okay, we're going to make an episode of anime with Japanese studios at really high quality, a lot of the NFT collectors would say, hey, how does that benefit me with the NFTs? Or if we created a partnership with Arbitrum and the Animecoin Foundation to launch Anime Chain, the question is like, wait, how does that onboard people? That sounds like a crypto product, but like where does the growth for the business or the profitability come from? And I think with anime.com, all the pieces of the puzzle of the flywheel sort of fall together, right? If you are asking yourself, why will people go to anime.com? There's a very good reason. I mean, the Azuki IP will live there. So if the Azuki IP is very popular and very successful, then the anime.com platform will be very popular and very successful. If you're thinking about like, what is Azuki's business model and like onboarding growth mechanism going to look like, you can point at anime.com and you can be like, this is a portal through which the Azuki IP, but also partner anime IPs are going to showcase a new way to engage with anime content in a way that's very appealing to a Web2 audience. But the magic trick for anybody that's joined this waitlist and has put in their email and minted the stickers, everything in that experience is on chain on the private testnet for Anime Chain. So it is a website that is very fast, it's very performant, but it is a crypto experience at the end of it. So Anime Chain is the infrastructure and what really closes the loop in terms of value capture. So today we are starting this campaign to introduce anime.com to the world. We're just really focusing on the domain, on the branding. We want people to understand that we really get how to make a product that's very appealing to a consumer. But there's already on-chain things going on here. Like when you enter your email here, you're creating a wallet. And when you spin for these stickers, you are minting these stickers on chain. So it is a way to really show the entire picture of what we call Anime 2.0 and how Azuki plans to reach the masses.
Love it. Thank you for the breakdown. I do have a couple of follow-up questions on that. First of all, insane domain, anime.com. We spoke about that before the show, saying that your thought process was that people in Web3 will appreciate that because we have had that ENS trading frenzy over the last couple of years, and we see the value of domains. So how was the reception of the news piece? How was the reception of the domain from the community? I think you also did a massive Discord session last night. What were some of the initial reactions from the community?
I mean, the reception was really good. I think it was stronger than I expected because we're very much in the tank thinking about a Web2 audience. And so when you're thinking about a regular user, obviously they care about a good domain and it helps them engage with a brand better if the domain is better. But I think the response of the community has been really great and of the wider Web3 space because people specifically here like really value a good domain. So that part's really cool. I think the reception's been great. People are bullish on it just based on their domain, and we're excited about it as well. And then, yeah, I think what we tried to do yesterday with the Garden Gathering is we wanted to have Sagabon on stage. He's got the vision for Anime 2.0 and how it all comes together. But we also had Steve, who is our COO, and he's like a media and entertainment veteran. And he was announcing like another hire in Japan that's coming over from Dentsu and has been in anime for 16 years. Another hire from, the manga world that's been on the manga world for 20 years. And it was a lot about showing that like, this isn't just a bunch of Web3 kids that are like, we're going to revolutionize the anime industry. We are aggressively hiring veterans in the space that have the contacts and that can make this a reality. And then we had Location 2BA on the product side, talking about what we call full stack anime, and he was talking about like how obviously the anime chain technology is very performant technology, but on top of that, we're going to have to build a bunch of social primitives, what we call sort of like the fandom layer or like the protocol layer of this, and I think that's still to be revealed. But yeah, I think we were just trying to give people a very exciting picture, and yeah, the Azuki community is crazy, so they really went hard, and everybody's having a lot of fun on the space right now and getting their friends to sign up.
One more follow-up question on that, and I also know Sammy has some questions on that too. You said before you're trying to solve some of the problems that the anime industry has, one of them being discoverability. Can you speak to that a bit more in terms of how you want to solve that with anime.com?
I think I'm going to let the follow-on announcements about specific features show you rather than tell you. I think when you're talking about product features, and especially when you're saying something like this experience is better than that experience, you really just have to feel it as a product. I think as a better answer to that question, I will tell you that there are very clearly broken experiences across discoverability, across forums, participation, user content, but also in the like watching experience on the streaming experience. And there's a big disconnect between the moment that you watch an episode and you're like, oh my god, I love this world and these characters, but like, what the hell do I do next until the merch is in store? Like, there's a big gap there in terms of interaction and engagement. So I'm gonna let the features speak for themselves sort of when we launch them. And I hope you do invite me back, even though I'm not answering your question.
Gotcha. So you're approaching this also from the user experience and user flow perspective,
but also from the hype perspective. Like we gotta get people excited about Azuki. We gotta be like, oh, what IP partner are they gonna launch next? Like, what are the titles that are gonna be on this platform? Like, what are the features that they're gonna release next? We gotta play the attention game. So I can't throw the book at you. I gotta be like, coming soon, baby. Redacted.
Fair enough. We only have
Yep.
a couple minutes left in the show. Sammy, I know you have a couple of questions too, so I'm going to go straight to you.
Yeah, well, being domain names, I think it's a fantastic name to have. And I was curious though, like who was the incumbent owner of anime.com, and what kind of content did they have on there previously? Because it must have been something that was used previously, and there must have been some traffic that had gone to it. So people that are familiar with that, there must be some sort of transition to what Azuki are doing with it and what it was done previously. And I don't know if you know too much about that.
I think it was parked. I really think there was nothing going on. There is, and I don't want people looking this up, but there's like a weird Facebook group that for some reason is called anime.com, and it has like horrible content in it. And we are politely asking the owner of the group to transfer it to us so that the whole branding is clean, because we're sort of a little bit OCD. So it's like, it's really bothering that stuff exists. But yeah, I don't think there was previous anime.com content. I think it was just parked.
And I guess like how receptive it, because given that it was announced so recently, have you had much feedback from the general anime community? Like how receptive are they to Azuki? Like, do they like, what's their view on like blockchain and stuff like that? Just because I know from the gaming standpoint, like blockchain and doing that kind of stuff and NFTs within that industry has quite a negative connotation. But I was curious as to how receptive the anime industry is to what Azuki's doing with anime chain, etc.
Yeah, this bit of the go-to-market right now is directed at our community and the Web3 space. And obviously, I've heard a lot from the community that like, I sent this to my buddy and he signed up, and then I was like, gotcha, you just did something on chain, you just minted an NFT, and they were like, oh my god, is that like, I didn't have to pay anything for it? And so there's been a lot of like that anecdotal evidence of like, this is such a smooth experience that people don't even realize they're doing something on chain. But yeah, I mean, right now the waitlist experience, it is not incredibly geared to like a Web2 anime audience. I think in later parts of the campaign, you will see us experimenting with different messaging and with different ways to, quite frankly, fight a bunch of gatekeepers, because it's very easy, and it happens with gaming as well, right? It's very easy to think of the gamer or the otaku as this monolithic single cell organism. They all act the same, and they are all angry, and they all hate crypto, which to a certain extent, it's true. There's a lot of people that hate crypto, or that even without understanding it are going to have a gut reaction to it. Like when we released episode 1, a lot of people were like, I fucking love this episode until I found out it was an NFT. No, I don't like it. To me, that comment is like, okay, so you do like it. you do like it. You know, like it was a Taylor Swift concert. You were bobbing your head to the songs. You like Taylor Swift. Now you're trying to pretend like you don't like Taylor Swift, but you were dancing. So you really have to believe that deep down, if a piece of content's fucking good, people are going to resonate with it. If a game is fucking good, people are going to play it. And if a platform truly provides a better experience in terms of watching anime, it doesn't matter that some people are going to be instantly not into it because it has crypto in it. People want a better way to do things. But I will say this to the Azuki community, and I will say this to anybody else that's like sort of cheering for Azuki to succeed. We are going to face a lot of pushback. There's just going to be a lot of people, like even yesterday on the timeline, there were a bunch of people that were like, oh my God, a VC funded anime crypto thing extracting. They don't even know that we're not VC funded, that we don't have any VC money, but they're already being like, oh, this is some VC funding. So people are going to gatekeep. You know, it's part of the sport. You truly have to believe, because it's true, that there are people that want to try new things, and if it's better than what they're already doing, they're going to switch, because that's what's happened with every single technological innovation since the wheel, or like, you know, writing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely down to education, and I mean, I'm bullish on what you guys are doing, and I appreciate we're close to time, but you definitely got my vote, and I'm keen to try and support you guys in whatever way we can.
Let's go. Sign up to the wait list. Get all your friends to sign up to the wait list. Post your stickers online. Let's go. Anime.com, baby.
Love it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Beautiful closing words. Thank you, Dem, for joining us today and taking the time. Thank you, Sammy, for co-hosting the show with me. Thank you to Funky and Oxy for joining us on the stage. Also, shout out to the YouTube comments on fire as per usual. Kashmir, Just Stefano, Meta Kryptonian, keeping the chat in the YouTube comments going. We're going to be back on Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube, on X, live on video, live on Spaces. And if you miss us live, you can still catch us on Spotify and on Apple Music. In the meantime, guys, thank you for joining us today. Thanks to everyone in the audience, and have a great weekend.